they and help these organizations that they work for, and also that they're building accomplish their mission for social impact. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. Marta?
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here with all you wonderful ladies. And basically, I have been chasing dreams. Maybe that's the best way to describe my career path. I'm an attorney by training. I worked in a law firm for many years, and then tried my hand at my own business, and then ended up in government. And I'm just really excited to share my journey in terms of kind of where I think I'm getting closer to the dreams now. Excited to be here.
Thank you. And Mary Lou.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Mary Lou Ryder, and I'm a former school superintendent, and I'm just so excited to be here today. Christy, thank you for inviting me here today to be with all these wonderful, bold, powerful women. I'm currently a professor for Bremen University, part of the Chapman University system, and I'm also an author. And I want to give a shout out to my co-author. I think she's here today with our assistant. Jessica Thompson is my co-author, and she said she wouldn't miss this webinar for the world. And our assistant Haley is also here today. So I've spent pretty much my entire life, adult life, on becoming a woman's advocate. And to that end, I have written 7 books, 3 of them specifically devoted to changing the conversation for women. It was not a better time to be involved in this conversation, and I'm so glad to be here, Christy. Thank you again.
Well, thank each of you for actually joining me. As you can see, we have, women who are doing phenomenal things, and they're all doing something while still working, right? I don't think any of us are entrepreneurs holistically, but we are still doing what we do every day, but then we're also finding those ways to do what we love to do and what we're passionate about. So now we're getting ready to jump into the good part. So we're going to talk about, their bold moves experience. And so what I want to do first is start with Marta. Marta, what was your bold move and why did you consider it to be bold for you?
Well, for me, the bold move was actually, after all this time, I'm in my 40s, giving myself the permission to spend time on what it is that I would like to do with the rest of my career life. And it was a bold move for me because I come from a background and a culture, not only like an ethnic culture, but also a family culture where a lot of expectations in the family, always doing the right thing. And now as a single mom, doing the right thing for my daughter, who depends on me financially, and just getting myself the space to explore my core values and actually possibly aligning my career choices with what it is I would really love to do in life.
Thank you, thank you. Mary Lou, what was your bold move and why was it bold for you?
Oh, I've had so many bold moves, but I think the biggest bold move that I've taken is to actually have this goal of becoming a female superintendent, woman superintendent in a male-dominated profession. I don't know if you know this or not, but only about 20 to 28% of the school superintendencies in the country are held by women. So I think it was a bold move even to set it as a goal. And I'm encouraging any of our younger women out there today. So you set these bold move goals that you want to aspire to, but it's one thing to set a goal and it's another thing to actualize it. So one of the things that I actually did was seek out a couple of women in my life and ask them, do you think that I have what it takes to become a school superintendent? At the time I was a school principal. A lot of steps to take before you get to that role. And I had one person say to me, you're really smart, you're bright, you've kind of got what it takes to become a school superintendent, but you've got a lot of work to do. And that was a really hard conversation to hear that. And then I said, well, you know what, I'm going to seek out a second opinion on that. And I went and got another friend to ask her the same question. She said, yeah, you've got to work on your wardrobe. You've got to work on your executive presence. You've got to learn to speak up. You've got to learn to communicate a little bit better. You've got to really practice on some of these things. So it was having that mentor in my life who helped take me through all of those steps to actually actualize my goal of becoming a superintendent. And I was, after 7 interviews, long, hard interviews, I became a superintendent, the first woman superintendent in a large school district in Fresno, California. So it was probably the boldest move I ever made, and I was just really excited to be part of it, part of that experience.
Thank you for sharing that, Mary Lou. And what I was thinking of when you said you asked one person and you had to seek a second opinion. I mean, we do that oftentimes as women because we don't want to necessarily believe that there's something that we need to work on, right? I mean, because a part of it is really looking within and accepting those things that we may need to change in order for us to move into the direction of our bold moves, because I'm a true believer of understanding, one, your communication style is very key when it comes to amplifying your influence and being influential and having credibility in the spaces you desire to go in. So I thank you for, sharing that part, because one of the things that most of us women don't want to do is be vulnerable. And vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of growth. So thank you, Mary Lou, for sharing that. Tamika, what was your bold move and why was it bold?
Well, I can say without thought that my boldest move was to write this memoir. And having done that, considering the genre, a memoir will expose you in ways that you're not used to being exposed. It shares an intimate part of your life that you're not used to sharing. And so I had to think that through when I was contemplating writing it. Although my experience happened about 25 years ago, I knew that it needed to be told. And so I said, what's the best way I can get this to the masses and still feel, that I'm doing my part and not be as vulnerable as you're stating, but as you stated a few minutes ago, but knowing that vulnerability is a huge part of it, because at some point you have to take self out of it. And so once I decided to become selfless and I picked up on the purpose of why I was actually doing it, I thought to myself, this is intentional. And to me, intentionality comes with a push. And that intentionality and that push got in me, and I decided to go ahead and make this bold move, write this book, and let everybody see a part of me that I hadn't shared. And here I am. So needless to say, I know writing this book had to be the boldest thing I've ever done, but it's very rewarding. And although bold, very necessary.
And I'm glad you said that too, because what we have to realize is that our journey is not about us.
It's not.
And I think when we take us out of it, and not that we want to go through anything bad, but there's always a message in the story, right? So, and it can help some of us from making those same mistakes if we're just willing to be open to what it is that we need to do for ourselves. And I think the other thing about writing a memoir is about self-awareness. I mean, because I'm sure it brought up some feelings that you didn't even want to relive. I mean, and there's also healing, because you had to address whatever it was and you had to come out on the other side. But I applaud you in writing it in the right moment, right? Because many of us write books, because I have a few, I've written in a few anthologies, but I have one that I've been working on and it's just been sitting there. But needless to say, I'm that person too. So I'm just like everybody else. So Molly, last but not least, what was your bold moves and why did you consider it to be bold?
My bold move was choosing my passion and going all in with that. That allowed me to, like Tamika, put out my memoir, because I knew that that was a part of my purpose, was to tell the story so that other people who have gone through war and trauma and losses like I have can feel less alone in the world. The other bold move was entrepreneurship. I was in financial services for 7 years. I was an entrepreneur then, but it wasn't still aligned with my passion. And making this bold statement and saying, I'm gonna go all in, even with my entrepreneurship, and choose and map my purpose, my gifts, my talents, what my skills, and creating a business that aligns all of those things with a greater purpose of helping people choose their purpose, make it profitable, do good while really shaping their own lives and shaping the world. That is the boldest move I've ever made, and there's no turning back.
And I think that you said something that's spot on, doing what you are purposed to do. Because my own personal experience is I quit a 6-figure job because I wasn't fulfilled. You know, I got to a point in my life to where money wasn't the driver for me. It was me being able to make a difference and add value. Now, I still won't get paid, but it was like I did something, and I went against what I said I wouldn't do, because I said I would never do that type of work again. But the money was there, and it literally drained me every day to go to work. Like, I literally hated it, but I showed up, but then it started impacting my performance. And so that's why it is so clear for you to get clear on what it is your purpose to do in life. And one of the things that Natasha mentioned was the Kirsten temperament. So I do believe in people finding out who they are as a baseline. Not to say that all things are equal in saying this is who you are all your life, because we should grow, you know, as we evolve, and our emotional intelligence should go with us. But a lot of us will do the things that we think that our parents want us to do, or someone else. I think, Molly, you said that. And Tamika, I mean, Marta, if you have kids, if you have a husband, if you have anybody else that lives in the house besides you, what are you doing? You're putting them first. And your dreams and your goals take that the side. But now it's really, really time for us to find that way and find that space to be able to make the bold moves. And Mary Lou, one of the things you mentioned was your goal of becoming a superintendent. So knowing that that was a goal of yours, besides the optics of what people said, you needed to talk better or you needed to dress differently, what was one internal battle that you needed to overcome?
Oh, that's an easy one. Confidence. And I think that that's one of the things that I'm absolutely convinced, with all the research I've done on women in leadership and just women in general, that we struggle with confidence. And I still do to this day. I mean, you know, all the successes that I've had, publications, that kind of thing, I still struggle with wondering if I'm good enough. And it brings me just to a really quick story about confidence and why I chose to write a book about confidence. I was charted out with doing this workshop for administrators to help them become superintendents. And this organization had me speaking for 6 hours, and part of it was mock interviews for the participants at the end, which was invaluable for everybody. So the workshop had about 10 men and 10 women in it. So I said, okay, now who's ready for their mock interview? And all the men's hands went up. Every single man's hand went up in the room. And so we did a couple mock interviews, and I said, okay, how about any of the females? And they just looked down at their desk, and I went over to one and I said, what's the matter? Why won't you take advantage of this? And she said, well, I don't want to look stupid. And there it's at, wrapping in with what men have. And I asked the men in the group, why did you all volunteer? And they said, we didn't have anything to lose. This is a valuable opportunity. So I think that confidence level, and there's so many things that women can do, and I know, Christy, you speak to it also in your work, just simple things like noting your successes that you already have, you know, looking at yourself, are you a perfectionist? Do you have to have everything be perfect? Do you succumb to just a thinking, I'm just a mother, I'm just a secretary, those kind of things. So obviously it was confidence.
And I think to add to that is research shows that men will apply for a job if they're 60% sure that they will get it, and a woman it has to be 100%. And that goes back to the fear of rejection. So there are so many things that go into our confidence, but we're here for the Bold Moves experience to undo that thinking for women. And I want to jump to Marta, because it was one thing you said about being an immigrant. And I know coming into the United States, and there are also pressures, you know, within your family to be a certain thing. So, you know, like coming to the United States is a rites of passage, or it's a thing that you're supposed to do. What does your family or your upbringing, what effect did that have on you making your bold move?
I think, you know, that family dynamic and cultural dynamic that you referenced, it made it very hard to get to the point where I felt comfortable making a bold move. You know, I've made all these different career changes, but it always got back to, it all started with doing that right thing way back when I decided to go to law school, for example, because what I would have loved to do it wasn't acceptable. Was I didn't come to this country so you could do X, Y, Z, you know. So and you do want to do better. You know that there were sacrifices that your family made, and I think this applies even if you're not an immigrant. You know, like the sacrifices the people before you have made so that you could do better. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, and you want to live up to that. And when that doesn't necessarily align with maybe who you are inside, it can be difficult. So you do the right thing, based on your experience, you jump to the next thing. And I'm grateful for every opportunity I've had. And I always learn something, meet people, enjoy the work, but there's always a little bit something missing, I think, if you've never been able to align your core values with that. And so thinking about the next generation, my daughter, something that's been really important for me is telling her, you know, get to know yourself so you can live that life you want in a relationship, in your career, in whatever. And I think what really drove me to finally this point, Dr. Christie, as you know, is I realized I was telling her to do that, but I wasn't doing it myself. So, you know.
Well, thank you. And so, and speaking of core values, Tamika, why should you have your own core value system, and how does one's core values impact the decisions that they make in their life?
Well, to Marta's point, core values are foundated. They're things that you get early on, and you tend to hold on to those. But as you grow and mature, you start to think, you know, what your inner trust is about, you know. And to me, to have your own core values means to trust yourself and to believe in yourself and to do things that you know are going to set the standard for what you are really, really pushing for. And so when it comes to decision making, by the time that you build that trust up within, it becomes seamless. You know, things become more attainable, and you always reach back and think about that core value or those core things that may have pushed you to believe in yourself in the first place. And so I think it's very important to have core values, especially when you're, to her point, again, rearing people and you're being looked at in a certain light. And, you know, you want to set an example so that the generation behind you can pick up that same stance and build off of their own core values. And so to me, it's extremely important to have that. And in decision making, it should come seamless once you embed it into your inner trust.
Thank you. Molly, same question for you, but what I want you to share is, how has the core values of your immediate circle, when I say family, friends, how has that impacted you actually moving towards entrepreneurship?
Thank you for that. Well, I would say that personally, the core values, having a core value set and creating one, especially for those, I think all of us go through challenges in life, whether it's traumatic or whether it's just a heartbreak. There's something that happens with us. There's a very interesting phenomenon that happens when you go through tough times. Fear and intuition can feel very similar. And so if you don't have your core values set, and you can pick a lot of values that matter to you, but I would also suggest creating a list of your top 3 to 5 non-negotiables. Things that are just absolutely, you will not falter from these values, because that helps you be the person that you are, that helps you have an internal compass of when you're in integrity or not. And to answer the extended question, Dr. Christie, the values in my life with my family, my husband, my SOAR community is family and community are not my non-negotiables. If I am working for someone or hiring someone for my company, do they feel like they belong here? Am I treating them as if they were my brothers and sisters? If I had hired my brother and sister to be a CFO for me, would I treat them in this way?
Mhm.
And so those are the things that when you have your value sets, you can operationalize them, meaning put a checklist when you make those big, bold decisions to know what is right within your integrity and what is going to allow you to create a legacy that you're proud of, walk you toward that North Star and not zigzag you too far away from the path of what's meant for you. So I would say having those core value sets are essential for a life of fulfillment and a life where there's inner peace and harmony.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you were talking, and what I want everyone who's listening to us, the reason why I came up with the word bold means become the best you. O is operate in your gifts and talents. L is to live life on your terms. And D is to dare to be different. And that goes back to authenticity. And we are born with a clean slate, right? So we're innocent, but there's so many influences that happen in life that get us off course. So Tamika, if you could get a do-over in life, what would you do differently and why?
Well, if I could get a do-over in life, I think I would have made a different career choice. Now, I am such an extrovert and I love people and I work in HR, which all goes together, but I think I would like to be a more tangible person to the community. I think I would like to be more in a counseling field because my energy to pour back into people comes more natural than it is to be in a corporate environment. And so I think I would have probably changed my career choice earlier on and probably pushed the more philanthropic side of me versus the more corporate side. And I think I kind of get it when I'm there as well, because each time I do a job, I feel like it's an assignment. I feel like the people that I come in contact with, they're there for purpose. And so I try to channel that same energy into my HR position and any other position I've held with any company I've been with. And it tends to work out. But if I could have changed and shifted, back when, I think I would have chosen to at least get a degree in counseling and probably a life coach and things of that nature.
All right, Mary Lou.
Oh, my word, if I could do it over. Okay. I think it would probably be, it's always, when you think about your career, just having that comfort zone, having that fear of leaving one's comfort zone. I always tended to stay too long in one job because we became comfortable. When I really, when in retrospect, looking back, really could have moved on much quicker to obtain my goals. And so I think it's that, just wishing that I could have looked down on myself and just been able to realize that that comfort zone gets pretty comfortable. And if we're going to make these bold moves that we all aspire to, it's just being able to take a look at yourself and say, am I staying here too long? Am I staying in this particular job or role because I'm afraid to leave? I think that would be it.
Oh, thank you. Marta?
Along those lines, I think, leaving your comfort zone and making some decisions earlier, I wish I had had the courage to make that bold move, to do that self-examination earlier, and not just go with what was expected in the flow, because it does get comfortable and you can be successful doing those things, and you find a little comfortable spot, like, okay, maybe this is fine. But I encourage everyone just to be brave enough to really look at yourself. Whenever you come to that point in your life, there are so many things that can distract you from doing that, and then you blink and 10 years have gone by, so yeah.
All right, Molly.
Oh, this is a good one. I believe that everything is as it should be, or it would be something else. So at the same time, I know that the question is very profound. If I could do it over, I definitely have some answers to that, but I also want to make sure that everybody on this call wherever you are today is a gift because of the lessons that have been gifted to you with mentors, the mistakes and the fumbling and the, face in the dirt also built up your capacity, certainly built up mine, made my heart a little more elastic so it doesn't break every time something doesn't go my way. So that's worth celebrating. But if I had to do things over again, I would have uncovered and claimed my gifts much earlier. And I would have played more as a child. I would have did more singing and explored the creative side of who I am, so that at 35, I wouldn't feel like my soul was dying because I wasn't exploring all of me. So I say go back and play. Whatever age you are, play more, get your hands dirty, because that's when you really can create, innovate, and come up with clear openings so that your heart can lead you to what it is that you're meant to do. When we don't play, we don't laugh, we don't create, and chemically, physically, our bodies kind of shut down. So we're not able to open up to new possibilities. So play more, claim your gifts, train yourself to trust your intuition again as if you're a kid who knew things that were around you and couldn't explain it. And I think that can make a real big difference in terms of where you decide to go from here with your bold movement.
Thank you, thank you. And I think to even just to add to that, COVID has actually been a time of rest and reset. I don't know how many of us realize that because we were just busy doing life. And it wasn't until we couldn't go anywhere that we realized, what have I been doing all of this other time, right? So we're always busy doing something, but that's not necessarily the something that we're supposed to be doing. Because as you said, I know I haven't laughed as much as I have now. I really watch TikTok, I'm not on it. But there have been days just sitting here, I was like, I'm just gonna do something mindless. Like, I don't have anything to do, I don't have anywhere to go. But I have been more purposeful about the things that I have done. And hence, the Bold Moves experience. And this has been something I've been working on for quite a while. But once I got still and really, sought God and like, what is it I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I'm all over the place. And I am at the second half of my life. And so how can I make it be greater? And I think we need to take the time to smell the roses. We need to take the time to enjoy our families. We need to take the time to talk to people that we haven't talked to in years, just because we have missed that connection. And how, just like we're on Zoom right now, I think that was one of the ways that everybody started getting together. You can talk to 15 of your friends at one time, but we were forced into it. So now that this is our new normal, I think, it is very important, like you said, to find those ways just to reconnect and to get back to the things that you wish you could have enjoyed as a kid. Because I like to paint, can't draw, but I like to do it. But now it's time for me to do that. So, in going into that, thank you for that question. Mary Lou, how did you know when it was the right time for you to make your bold move? And what factors did you consider?
Oh, how did I know it was time for me to do it? I think that it's just something that it's a passion that you get. The bold move that I took was obviously to become a school superintendent. And so I think that all the research that I had done about women, and I had spent a good 10 years before even making that decision to become a school superintendent. I started out as a teacher and then got into administration courses and then became an administrator. And then just reading all this information about how women don't feel that they have the ability to be able to apply for these top level positions. And just being able to articulate that. I remember being in a course and one of my professors saying to me, well, what's your long-term goal, Mary Lou? And I said, to become a school superintendent. And he said, wow, you're kidding me. You're a teacher right now and you want to become a school superintendent? And so even to him, he thought that was just such an outrageous goal for a young woman like myself to make at the time. But I think it's just being able to state those goals completely and know internally that this is something you're going to accomplish. And it doesn't have to be broad as, breaking the glass ceiling. It can be something like, I'm going to go get a bachelor's degree. I'm going to complete a 4-year degree, and I'm going to better myself, or I'm going to go get a master's degree. It would just be making small steps like that. And I think that that's the one advice that I could give any young women that's out there in the crowd today that's here. Just, take small steps and don't be goalless. Always set some goals of where you want to take your next steps for how you can become a better person, and a better citizen, and just overall contribute to society.
Thank you. Tamika, how did you know it was the right time? You mentioned your memoir was based on something that happened 25 years ago.
Right.
And what
So,
factors did you consider?
well, one of the main factors to your point earlier was that we have time. I took time for granted, I guess, over the years, just doing everything to take care of home, take care of family. I am a mother of 3 children. I am a grandmother of 1 grandson. So I like to put a lot of their energy in front of me, and I had to realize, what am I going to do to regain my own self-control and stand in my own shoes and be purposeful. And of course, my testimony to me has always resonated, and I've always shared it verbally, but I know I needed to get it out to the masses. And I was always asked, are you going to ever write a book? Are you ever going to put it in manuscript? And I thought, yeah, one day I'll get to that. But I was okay at that point, just sharing it aloud. And so I thought to myself, God had to shut the whole world down in order for me to get behind this pen and get it to paper. And it was probably the most liberating move I've ever made, although bold to the point earlier. And bold in a very good way, because I knew now I had time to do it. I didn't have as many distractions. Again, the world was closed, and so what else would we do other than to go inside and find that inner self and pull her out? And so 25 years ago, yes, it did happen, but I've matured so much more since then. I've had so much more life. That's the reason the name of the memoir is Life After. And I was able to share a lot more now where we are, especially during a pandemic, and considering the basis to my big book being behind trauma. It kind of was the right time. We're dealing with a lot of traumatic things, even in society. And I think once the read has been met, and then it could, open the eyes and help those get their bounce back approach in play. And so timing is perfect actually for me right now, especially with this book.
And I'm super excited about that. You just released it on, what was it, August 9th. August 9th. And so for those of you listening, we will be coming back September the 22nd, where we're going to have a deeper dive where you actually get to hear, about Tamika's story. You get to learn a little bit more about Mary Lou's book and what she's written, and Marta's blog, and Molly's Nebula community. Like, there's a lot, and like how they actually got to those spaces and what it really means for them to open up and to be vulnerable. So that's going to be the Bold Move Spotlight. So each person will actually have the time to share a little bit more of their story. But today is really just about introducing them, allowing you to see who they are, and then just to kind of learn some of the strategies that you can do to take in your life so that you can make those bold moves. So Molly, and I'm gonna say, I'm from Texas, so I know she says it differently, but I say Molly. So how did you know the time was right for you? I'm gonna say for you to move into entrepreneurship.
I'm a child of war. I came here very young on a tiny little boat with my family, and I was in the refugee camps, and it's been a long journey since then. Growing up my whole life, I was the adult for my parents, and I took care of bills since I was 7 years old. The moment that I could learn how to add numbers, I was writing bills out for them. And it was a life of responsibility, and we were poor, and we relied a lot on the system. So I'm sharing that background because it shapes how you see the world and how you operate. And I was only able to operate as a child as part of me, not all of me. So the side of me that is a singer, a songwriter, a poet, the writer that I am, just kind of got stuffed under the pillow, if you will, or stuck in the dresser drawer. And as an adult at age 35, 2 things happened. One, I was tired of not being all of me. I knew somewhere deep down, even on a cellular level, that something was missing. And so I would advise everyone on the call, your body knows, and usually your mind, your energy field knows, but when your body starts to catch up with you and starts to operate out of whack, that means that you got to go deeper, even on a spiritual level, to uncover what's going on. That's one. There was my body sent me an alarm saying something's not right. You're not happy, you're not fulfilled. What's going on? And the other one was, I finally at 35 decided that I didn't want to be that little girl scared anymore, to be all of me. So that's when I decided to launch a business that was allowing me to use all of my gifts, all of my life experiences to tell my story, to help people map purpose and go change something positive in the world based on their unique gifts and talents to offer. So that's it. Decide to be all of you, not parts of you, and listen to your body when it's signaling that enough is enough.
Thank you. And that is true. That definitely is true, because your body will speak to you. And I didn't start having knee pain until I started being at home for whatever reason, because I wasn't as active. So it's true when you say that. And last but not least, Miss Marta. How did you know when it was time? And you haven't really said what it is that you do. That we know that you're a blogger, but what do you blog about? And why did you feel that it was time for you to share the gift of your blog to the world?
It's sort of been, so what I'm doing now, and in my work with Dr. Christy, really what I feel it's going from like a teeny tiny little secret hobby, that I had, to something real, and hopefully the next step in my life at some point, is I realize around my core values are showing and teaching, and then also relating to kind of exploring those connections between people and nature and how fundamental those connections are. And so I started writing about something very personal and just kind of really super niche and kind of weird in a way, but like, I realized recently, a couple of years ago actually, that my last name means pine forest in an old Spanish language. And I'd always loved trees and the forest and all, nature. And I started exploring, just focusing on pines. And Dr. Christy and I laugh sometimes because it's amazing how deep you can go into this niche, but this one little thing, and writing about this one little topic, it goes into everything. Like, and it's helping me explore, like, how are we connected to nature? Like, it's everything from, you can take a walk outside and under a tree and it interacts with your body in a way that's very healing. And how do we bring that to the world? And a lot of it is already out there. You may have heard of it, but then it's little things like, did you know that rayon comes from a pine tree? Like, stuff like that, like weird little quirky things. And where does that lead us to explore how the resources around us are finite? How do we how are we stewards of the planet that we live on in a way that we can keep discovering these things that help us as humans, or that just bring us joy or whatever. And so I think what led me to actually taking this from a tiny little hobby to something that really speaks to my heart and could grow larger is just being tired of quite frankly, a lot of what Molly said, and also just being tired and realizing I see all these other people who are taking that leap, who are brave enough to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm really interested in, and seeing them succeed, like going back to that whole doing the right thing, keeping the stable job. You can do the right thing and have a stupendous success just following what you were truly meant to do. So that was, I think, the big one for me.
Thank you for sharing, Marta. And I've known Marta for years, and until we actually started working together and she started really uncovering what she wanted to do, she never really talked. But you see how passionate she is about pines, right? So she likes it. And I think what we have to get to when we talk about authenticity and purpose, when you're doing what you love, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you're going to show up more powerfully in the world. So everyone listening, make sure that you are doing what it is you love, not what someone else loves, but what you love. And as we get ready to wind down for our hour together, I want everyone to take about 1 minute and give one strategy to the audience today to help them understand the importance of staying true to who they are so that they can reach their goals and dreams. And I'll kick it back over to you, Tamika.
Well, one strategy I'd like to share is, and it's a mistake that I initially made that I learned from that created the strategy, and that's to be very selective and very cognizant of who you share your next move with. I was so excited about writing the memoir, and I got excited because my testimony, again, is kind of spoken on, and so people knew that it was out there. And all I could think of was, do I tell the world or do I keep it to myself? So I hosted this huge event with a lot of girlfriends, and at the end of the event, I decided I'd share that I was getting ready to write it. And I will tell you, this was last year around my birthday, and around that time, between now and pre-pandemic, I was under the gun of pressure because of so many people wanting to know status and what are you doing and what's in your way. And so you have to be very selective about who you share your dreams with before it's like birthing a baby. You don't let everybody hold your newborn as soon as it's born. You just kind of have to get to a place where you're sharing, but being very comfortable and very selective with who you share it with. And that's a strategy that I would like to extend to anyone, because it can be tainted if you're not careful, and it can get you off course and create distractions, and that's huge when you're trying to make your bold move.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
I was thinking about this whole thing with why we're here today. We have all these wonderful women out here that have come from their jobs or whatever to be part of this discussion. And I think the most important thing is to recognize that we're all here together and that we are sisters together. In fact, the cut line for the 2 books that we wrote is called Sister to Sister Secrets. And let me just share this. We went out and interviewed hundreds of women, and not once did anyone ever not want to answer a question. And women love to talk, we know that. But it was always about helping another sister. And I think that the strategy that I have incorporated in most of my life is always to help another woman or to help another sister. And then also to encourage them to reach out and try to find a mentor. So many young women today just don't have those women in their lives other than their family members. And I'll just share this quite boldly, that if you ask a woman to be your mentor, they will never turn you down. I mean, it would be rare that someone would turn you down. So my strategy is to just reach out to all your sisters and to do whatever you can to make us on equal footing with our male counterparts. And you can tell that I have this thing about trying to gain equality, because in all the research I've done, we have so much work to do. Just look at our Senate and look at how in my lifetime I just hope I will see a female president. But it's going to take us all reaching out, doing more bold move discussions like this, and helping one another be successful.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Molly?
I have so many notes just from the sharing here from the other ladies. Thank you for the gifts. So I would say take the time to uncover your gifts and your talents. I think that's the biggest blessing you can gift yourself, is remember who you are. And one thing that I always caution is it's much easier to uncover what your talents are because you have developed them. You have taken courses, you've read books. It's much more difficult to uncover your gifts because they're innate within you. They come with you, so to you it might be just normal. So if you haven't uncovered your gifts, ask your closest trusted community, to tell you what your gifts are, and if it resonates with you, claim them. And then what I would say is, once you claim your gifts and you uncover your talents, invite others through your actions to do the same, and then go back to that tribal mentality of exchanging gifts and talents energetically and unapologetically. And I promise you, for those entrepreneurs out there or wanting to be entrepreneurs, when you do that and that formula becomes a flow for you, money will pour in. Focus on the energy exchange, focus on the unapologetically being you with your gifts and talents, and the money will work itself out. Don't focus on the money because it's going to block you from money.
Yeah. Thank you. And Marta?
Um, Something I struggle with, and it's a strategy that I'm trying to work on, but I think it is setting aside that time to do all this work. You know, it's so easy to let other things overtake us in our day. We all have so much going on, you know, all the time. Just setting aside that time to take that next step, to think about that next thought that you want to do, whether it's in your business, or you're working towards, or your education, or whatever your goal is. You know, setting aside that time, I find to be the biggest challenge, but so critically important to actually taking that next step.
Thank you. And I would share my strategy, and I think it's to forgive yourself. We put too much pressure on ourselves to say what we could have done or what we should have done, or I should have been at this place by this time in my life. And I think it was Molly mentioned earlier, you're right where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. So now is the time for us to start thinking about the bold moves we want to make and assess whose help we need so that you can yield to the authenticity of you. But as we close, I know we didn't have time for question and answers, but if you come back on September the 22nd, we promise that you will be able to ask those questions. Again, as we get ready to close, I just want to share some of the resources that we talked about today. If you're interested in learning more about Tamika and her book, Life After, you can go to tamikafrazier.com. For Molly and her Nebula community, she has a resource available to you as well, and she will definitely be sharing more about that the next time we come together. Marta, the Green Pine is her blog. Yes, yes, yes. You can learn a lot about pines because Marta is the person who can tell you. And then sister to sistersecret.com, Mary Lou and her co-authors have written this wonderful book. And if you want to know more about them or even read the book, you can catch the website there. And then, of course, me, Dr. Christy Monk. Dr. Christy Monk, Bold Moves Career Planner, and you can contact me at christymonk.com. So without further ado, I know we don't have time for questions, but we will make sure that we allow questions for our meet and greet, for a deeper dive for our Bold Move Spotlight. And don't forget to register. So here's the information here. I know we will be sending out the recording if you missed it, but then we'll also be sending you out the link with the survey. So don't forget to fill out the survey so we can know what it is we need to do to make it even a greater experience. And if you have any questions or you're interested in any programs with the University of Phoenix, and what I will say with that, we don't always have to go and get a 4-year degree. There are certifications out there to complement your skills that you already have. So reach out to Natasha at University of Phoenix, and that's natasha.pritchard@phoenix.edu. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you on September the 22nd, same time, same University of Phoenix channel. And without further ado, don't forget, you can scan the QR code here on the screen to actually share your feedback with us. So for me, what I say is always, until next time, be confident, be bold, and be you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, thank you. We still have people on the line. We're just waiting for everyone to leave.
Just a few more. Excellent, excellent, excellent job, everyone.
Yes, this was really, really good.